My name's Zaidan Davis. I am the owner of AZD Treats, which is a at-home bakery. Is this stuff in the shot?
Why are we doing this here?
I do custom cakes and cookies.
What's the idea?
We should have done this at Mom's.
I know, we really should have.
That would have been the perfect place to do it. Yeah, normally I do the baking in my kitchen, but I'm renovating everything. So my kitchen right now has no walls or appliances or a ceiling for that matter. So we thought that it's probably not the best place to do the baking today. We're gonna do snowflakes today. Snowflakes, snowflakes. I did go to culinary school. I started off in pastry. 2 paint stirrers glued together make the perfect depth for a cookie rather than expensive spacers. Back in the day when I was growing up, I used to work with my aunt. Every year for Christmas, she would make dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of cookies. She'd actually start the day after Halloween, and we just work all the way straight through every weekend making cookies until Christmas, and we would just keep them all in the freezer. So we started doing that when I was about 11, and then a few years later, she actually helped me enter the Ohio State Fair for the first time. I was in the junior division. We made a cake and bread. So we were always just cooking with Cindy growing up. So there was weeks and weeks of cookie making. And then our grandma actually, as you know, was also a baker.
Right, she was a baker.
Grandma Ruth, so we have that kind of as part of the history as well. So I think baking has just kind of been in our blood and our genes for forever.
What I do remember is her mixer, which stuck around in our house forever.
I remember
and
that
then
too, yeah.
her cake box. Like she had this box of cake decorating
I
tools.
still have it.
And now has it, yeah. It's awesome. It's like...
Almost looks like a little tackle box.
Yeah.
I call it my cake tackle box.
Do you still use it? Do you use it for your cake stuff?
Now I have a massive suitcase that I work out of, which has multiple cake tackle boxes and cookie tackle boxes inside of my massive suitcase. So this is a very specific type of icing. It's called royal icing. And the reason that we use this kind of icing rather than like a buttercream is that this will actually harden up and make it so that you can stack them, you can wrap them in bags. And that's because it uses this stuff right here, which is a meringue powder, which is a powdered egg white. You know, honestly, it just started off with playing. I didn't really have any background in this specific type of cookie. One time I was doing this and my whisk broke, and I ended up with icing literally covering me head.
Oh,
Queen City Cookies made those beautiful stamped cookies.
Beautiful.
They were just so stunning. So I tried to replicate those. I actually think the very first cookie I made was an epic failure. So I, again, went to the internet and just sort of self-taught, found a bunch of like cool tutorials, cool techniques, and then just started making cakes and cookies for friends and family. Now you can get real fancy and buy those fancy bags that Wilton makes. Any baking shop will make them. You can use parchment cones. It's another thing that I've used before. But I've actually found the thing that gives me the cleanest, best line, Ziploc bags. I always said that I have an artistic soul with minimal artistic talent. I cannot draw to save my life. I'm lucky if I can color inside the lines. Me and straight lines don't get along well at all. But I've always considered myself a pretty creative person and artistic soul. But it was really difficult. You know, cooking, I guess, was always a little bit of that for me, being able to play with different flavors and stuff. But there is something very specific about decorating, both cakes and cookies in general, but about the decorating process itself. It really does end up being like you said, a work of art. Like, it really does look like an actual finished art piece, something that you would draw or paint. And I honestly don't know how I translated from not being able to draw a stick person to being able to do these kind of insane designs on these cookies. And I have noticed actually that the more I do it, it really is a skill, you know? It's just like any skill, the more you do it, the more you practice, the better you get.
Yeah.
And see, when you play with dough, this was some leftover dough we had, and she happened to have some blueberry lavender jam. So we went ahead and just played around and made some blueberry lavender filled jam cookies. I get to play with sugar dough and icing. Like, it's pretty ideal. And this is how I make money and, like, you know, survive. So it's a pretty cool thing. I'm really, really excited, and I just feel really, really like blessed to be able to be here today. Bite.